Good evening and welcome to episode 17 of Back Talk with the Back Talk brothers. I am the K in back. Keys and hopefully Brian and Aaron, the BAK, get here at some point. But on this episode, we're going to talk about the Chiefs going into MT Bank Stadium and pulling their best Chiefsaholic impersonation, robbing the bank, upsetting the Baltimore Ravens, the number one seed in the AFC, frontlined by the person who most expect to win the 2023 season MVP award in quarterback Lamar Jackson. We're going to talk about that stuff. We might hit some coaching moves and whatever you guys throw in there in the chat. With that said, going to go ahead and hit that intro.
Y'all ready for them Chiefs? Y'all ready for them Chiefs?
Again, we want to thank you guys, our backers, for being here for this episode of Back Talk Bros. Guys, we appreciate the run that we've been able to have. I'm sure Gooch will get here at some point. Aaron might wake up. We'll see what happens here, guys. But we're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to have some fun tonight at the Ravens' expense. We're going to have some fun tonight at Ravens fans' expense. We're going to have fun tonight at all the haters' expense. Trust me, there's lots of them. Pick a team and their fan base hates us. Yeah. I don't really care to be the villain. You guys might like it, but at some point, I guess we're all going to just have to learn to deal with it because it is what it is. People hate the Chiefs. They hate the success. They hate that Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now and on a trajectory to be the greatest quarterback, the greatest player of all time. On the trajectory to be. They hate all of it, so they find every little thing to complain about because Mahomes is great. Travis is great. They're likable guys. So you got to find something to be to try to find to be pissed off about. Welcome to NFL fandom because of the Chiefs. Is what it is, guys. We have some good stuff out here today. A lot of really stupid people have been on Twitter, including me, because I should have just stayed off of Twitter instead of being surrounded by all the stupid people on Twitter. Let's go to Twitter. Let's go there to start out as we wait for the rest of the guys to get here. Daryl, glad you're with us here. Daryl, hope you got to do some fishing. Hope you get to do some fishing here. We're going to wait on Gooch and Aaron here. Hopefully Gooch can make it. You guys know how busy he is with work. And Aaron's got to go to work here soon, a little bit later tonight. So he might not even be awake yet. But we're going to keep going. So going to throw some stuff out tonight while we wait on the guys. And you guys can go ahead and leave your comments and your questions in the chat. We can get to those as well. We will get to those as well. While we're waiting, though, let's see if I can share some stuff. We'll go over. Is this going to work? Sometimes StreamYard hasn't been the best here. Hey, we actually have video of what transpired. Here you can see Mahomes doing his warm-up. You can see Justin Tucker. Mahomes asked him to move his stuff. You can see him get up and move it over 6-8 inches, whatever it was here, guys. You can see it in the video. Mahomes asks him. He looks at him. He gets up. Watch him move his helmet about a foot. goes back to his stretching. All right. Now, some fans want to point out that before official practice, before official stretching, whatever, team warm-ups take place, the kickers can be on the field. And in fact, one Twitter or X user posted this on here as their proof that Justin Tucker, this is the only time he could get on here. The problem is you guys can see the highlighted part here. Okay. Punters and kickers do get special time before official warm-ups, right? That they're permitted to use the field. Okay. Highlighted part here, though. Kickers and punters will have priority on the field prior to the scheduled start time of the official team warm-up period. A lot of people like to put a period there and just read it that way, but the highlighted part makes it clear when or in what circumstance that is the case. Kickers and punters will have priority on the field prior to the scheduled start time for the field to begin its official team warm-up here. Oh, sorry, I skipped a line. Based on the scheduled official warm-up period, kickers and punters will have priority on the field prior to the scheduled start time for the official warm-up period, while, important word here, while practicing kickoffs, practicing field goal attempts, and practicing punts. None of those three things are what Justin Tucker was doing during this time. We've all seen them. We've all seen various videos. This is the first one I've seen of Mahomes asking him to move his stuff and him being a smartass and moving it over a foot. This is the first time I've seen that particular video. Okay. He's not out there practicing kickoffs. He's not out there practicing field goal attempts at this time. He is on the opposite side of the field, warming up, as you can see in this video. Warming up, not kicking off, not attempting field goals. Okay? Kickers and punters get priority before official team warm-ups if they're kicking off or they're kicking field goals or punting, period. Those three things, that's what it says. It is what it is. Those are the NFL rules. A lot of good stuff on Twitter today. How about those Chiefs? Our friend Cole pointing out here, and this is a fun one, right? This is 4th and 1 from Pacheco in the second quarter here. You'll notice that Jadeveon Clowney sticks his foot out to kick Isaiah Pacheco on the play. Now, one user gave us an even better picture of what he did. This is Jadeveon Clowney's foot up in Isaiah Pacheco's shoulder pads underneath his chin, kicking him. We've all seen plenty of things. If you guys have been anywhere on social media this week, you'll have heard a lot of Ravens fans as crybabies. Is what it is. There's been a lot of great stuff out there. Ravens fans were actually pretty respectable before the game happened. Since then, they've been pretty trashy. Listen, I'm not going to go through all these tweets that I bookmarked for us here, but there's some great stuff on here. we'll get into the Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan stuff more next week's episode as we get closer to breaking down Chiefs and 49ers, and the guys get in here and we talk about that stuff. Playoff Patrick Mahomes is a crazy animal here. You can see regular season, right? You can also see playoff Patrick Mahomes. I actually made a graphic. I forgot to get it on the Twitter or the X, as Gooch would say. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes here. Chiefs defense week by week. PFF grade and efficiency by game allowed. So the circle shows the percentile PFF grade, percentile of EPA per play. The lower equals better defense. So you can see here this Tua all the way down here. You can see Lamar Jackson all the way down here. Performance against Josh Allen in the wild card weekend. Probably the second worst they've had outside of Jordan Love. Even Josh Allen during the regular season was below the 50th percentile. But it is what it is. Brock Purdy here. Again, we'll get into this stuff, guys. We'll get into this more next week, the Brock Purdy, San Francisco type of stuff. Yeah, we'll get into that stuff more. I guess I kind of picked some fights. Listen, stuff is what it is. There are people that I really enjoy following who've kind of said some, I don't want to say dumb things, but people trying to prop up other people. In this case, at Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes' expense. And I'm going to take this off here for a second. We'll get into the whole thread here because I think it's worth getting to the heart of context, because context matters, right? Context matters. And so we're going to get into it because you see a tweet like that. And yeah, you just got to get into the full context of it. If I can pull it up here, it might not be. Twitter is kind of dumb sometimes, so we'll see. Here we go. All right. And get this up here for you guys. All right. Pull it back up. All right. So Dante Lee, who is a college football coach or was a college football coach, great guy, great follow. You guys want to learn more about defense, follow his account. But, here, Mike McDonald of the Baltimore Ravens, their defensive coordinator, who the rumors are now saying will be the Seahawks' new head coach, kind of getting talked up a bit the last couple of days or so after the Chiefs and Ravens game. He is a heck of a defensive coach, and they did some fun things, and we'll pull those up too as well. But listen, I took offense with this because of one line in here, and he took offense with me taking offense because he said as soon as Kansas City was out of its opening script, Baltimore shut their water off. Okay. As soon as Kansas City was out of their opening script, Baltimore shut their water off. All right. Opening script. Okay. This is from the NFL. here are the drives of the game. Okay, and I think I'm going to have to do this differently so this actually pops out to where you guys can see it. So let me try to see if I can figure out how to get that to work. Here, I think that'll work. I might have to do this every single time. Okay, opening script is generally the first 15 plays of the game. Okay, the first two possessions, the first two drives the Chiefs had, okay, went for 30 plays. So we're twice opening script plays. Okay, 30 plays, 12 and 18. Okay. Maybe they count the kickoff in there. Even if they do, that's 11 and 17. That's 28 plays. Okay. Over 100 and what? 156 yards, I believe it was. Okay. Over these first two drives and 14 minutes and 47 seconds. Okay. Two drives, 28 plays. We're going to call it 28 plays. Two drives, 28 plays, 156 yards, 14 minutes and 47 seconds of possession. Okay. Again, two drives, 28 plays, 156 yards, 14 minutes and 47 seconds of possession. But Deontay wants us to believe that Mike McDonald's defense shut the water off after the first 15 scripted plays. 28 plays, 156 yards, 14 minutes, 47 seconds of possession. Okay, that's a whole freaking quarter of the game. And we're only in Kansas City's first two drives, but Mike McDonald and his defense shut Kansas City's water off after the opening script. Yeah, Deontay, you're wrong. Let's go on here. All right, sweet. This is going to work. Okay. This is Kansas City's last drive of the second quarter. 11 plays, right? Because it was after the first 15 scripted plays that Mike McDonald and his defense shut Kansas City's water off. That's what Deontay Lee told us. Yet here we are at the end of the second quarter, the end of the first half. 11 plays, 45 yards, 1 minute, 42 seconds, because it was the end of the half. 52-yard field goal to essentially end the first half. Andy Reid called a timeout with like 7-8 seconds left. That's its own argument. I still don't understand what the hell Andy was doing there. You wait, it's fourth down. So there's no worry about bobbling the kick and falling on it and calling a timeout and re-kicking it. It's fourth down. This is it. Okay. You don't call that timeout until there's 3 or 4 seconds left. That's besides the point right now. Okay. So we are now into this thing, like 40 plays. Okay. 3 drives that I've listed so far, all in the first half, 40 plays. Okay. We're now what? Around 200 yards and like 16 and a half minutes of possession on 3 drives in the first half. But the Ravens shut off Kansas City's water after their first 15 scripted plays. Are you guys following along yet? Deontay wasn't very happy with me. We'll get it back up here in a different way. Oh my God, they scored again after their first 15 to 20 play sequence. I guess that makes everything I said null and void. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to skip football here for a second and we're going to get into logical fallacies. Because where did I say that Everything that he said was null and void. I didn't say that at all, folks. That's called a straw man fallacy. You build up a fake out argument to tear it down. Okay. I didn't do that. I took one sentence in what he said and I proved that he was full of it. That one sentence is the only thing I mentioned, which, as I responded to him, Mike Macdonald is a great coach. He's a hell of a coach. Nothing I'm throwing up here disputes anything else that he says here about Mike Macdonald and Baltimore's defense, except for the fact that as soon as Kansas City was out of its opening script, Baltimore shut their water off. That is the only thing. This is one sentence, and I disputed it because it's clearly wrong. Okay, we've seen those 3 drives, right? Nearly 40 freaking plays, 200 plus yards, over 16 minutes of time of possession. So clearly Deontay was wrong when he said that Mike Macdonald shut off Kansas City's water after the first 15 scripted plays. But we had even more fun with that, guys, because I wasn't letting this go. Okay. All right. It's important to point out here. If Andy kicks the field goal instead of going for it on 4th down, and now we showed the play, right? The 4th down play. We showed Jadeveon Clowney kicking Isaiah Pacheco, which should have made that an automatic first down by way of penalty. But if Andy kicks the field goal instead there, that means that Kansas City scores on 4 of their first 5 drives. But remember, the first drive, that was 12 plays, basically the whole amount of scripted plays. Baltimore shut Kansas City's water off after that first drive. So how the hell is it then that if Andy kicks the field goal here, or the refs call the penalty that they should have, and Kansas City goes on to score, that on 4 out of Kansas City's first 5 drives, they did or should have scored? 52 plays, 221 yards, 20 minutes, 39 seconds of possession out of 30 minutes in the first half. Is this Baltimore Ravens defensive dominance that we're hearing? Do these numbers say that the Ravens and Mike Macdonald shut Kansas City's water off after the first 15 scripted plays? Is that what it says? Doesn't say that to me. We take it a step further here, guys. All right, second half, right? Because Kansas City didn't score again after that field goal at halftime. But let's look a little closer. In the second half, Kansas City had 5 punts in the second half. Well, Keys, there's your proof that Baltimore shut off Kansas City's water. It just wasn't after the first 15 scripted plays. It was at halftime. All right, let's look at it. 5 punts in the second half. 4 out of those 5 began with a run. Okay. Despite me, those who are in the RGR Discord can attest to this, screaming that we should do a play action pass on first down instead of running it on first down. Every single one of these drives, except for one, began with a run. Okay. 2 out of those 4, right? Because one of them did begin with the pass. The 4 that began with the run, out of those 4, 2 of them were only 4-play drives, including the punt, which means there were 3 plays, right? Run and 2 more plays. Both of those 2 had 2 runs on the drive, right? So 2 runs and a pass. Those were the 3 plays. Run, run, pass, or run, pass, run, punt the ball. 2 out of those 4 drives, 4 out of those 5 drives. Okay. The one that didn't begin with a run was a productive drive that was ended essentially by Jawan Taylor's penalty. That drive ended at Baltimore's 45-yard line. We punted the ball. but we were marching down the field. And if it hadn't been for Jawan Taylor's penalty that made it something like 2nd and 17, okay, and with Andy playing conservative, once we got up 2 scores, that 2nd and 17 essentially killed that drive because they weren't going to risk turning the ball over. But it also kept us out of took us out of field goal range there. Okay. That's the only drive that began with a pass, and it was going to score points. The other 4, Andy was being ultra conservative and running the ball. Again, 2 out of those 4, he ran the ball twice out of the 3 plays we ran. We had 3 drives in the third quarter. Okay. 2 non-offensive penalty drives. We ran 6 plays. 3 of them were runs. 3 of them were passes. We were 1 for 3 there. The Jawan Taylor penalty drive began with the pass. We ran 9 offensive plays. 3 of them were runs. 6 of them were passes. We gained 22 yards. We punted again from Baltimore's 45 because that penalty took us out of field goal range. We punted on 4th and 19. Okay. We had 3 drives in the fourth quarter. 2 of them were non-game ending drives. The last drive was game ending, so it didn't really matter, right? It ended with 3 kneel downs after a 32-yard pass. Okay. 2 non-game ending drives in the fourth quarter. We ran 10 offensive plays, and that's not including a defensive penalty that's counted as a no play. Okay. We had 4 runs, 6 passes. Okay. 2 of those passes ended in a sack. The only 2 they got in the game. This was in the fourth quarter. 1 drive. I believe it was the second to last drive of the game. So that left 4 actual pass attempts. The Chiefs were 2 for 4 for 20 yards. And then the last game-ending drive, 8 plays, 3 of those 3 non-kneel downs because 2 of them, 2 defensive penalties were on the play, and 1 pass, which was the 32-yard completion to MVS. And by the way, holy hell, MVS, what an amazing freaking catch. That might have earned his $11 million right there. All right. I think I'm done on this point, but the overarching point is, guys, you have to put context with stuff. And I think what happens too often is people look at maybe a half a dozen plays and they're like, oh, wow, Mike McDonald had a really smart play here. And he did. And I'll show some of those here in a minute when I'm done talking and welcome Gooch into the show and let him talk. Okay. But that's not the point. He had a few great plays, but let's not act like the Ravens defense shut down Kansas City's offense because they could have and should have scored on 4 out of their first 5 drives. They had a full quarter of possession, time of possession more than the Ravens. And when they actually cared again, that last drive of the game, they converted a 3rd and 9 for 32 freaking yards to put the dagger in the hearts of the Ravens. Gooch making time from his busy schedule. Gooch, you've now heard me rant for about 7 minutes now. I'm sorry, brother. Good to see you.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Oh, you know me, I am pumped. Let me tell you, before this started, I thought I was going to take a nap and go to sleep. But morons have me fired up. How are you doing, brother?
I've been following you on Twitter. I seen it.
I should have stayed off this week. Yeah, I'm trying not to get in trouble because there's been 3 or 4 accounts that like I respect, and they've all said something that I'm just like, no, that's like not even factually correct. This is one of them. Oh, Aaron's with us.
Here's my take on it. I personally think you're giving Mike McDonald too much credit. I think that the one thing that we ridicule Andy Reid about the most is the smartest thing he did in the second half of that game. And he played conservative, and he played keep the clock running, and Patrick wasn't trying to play hero ball. I mean, how many times have we yelled and screamed, run the ball when you got the lead, let the clock run out? That's what he did. With this game, 4 or 5 plays and a punt is great because the clock is running the majority of the time. And with the way our defense was playing, I wasn't mad at that. I wasn't mad at that at all. Let that clock run. Get on out of Baltimore with a win. I don't care. The end result is the win. You know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, we complain about it when teams are scoring 24, 30, and the defense isn't stopping anything, and Andy's like going conservative. But this game, like, this was great. The one thing they did better was they started attacking the screens more. And they finally started trying to stop the run, but Pacheco still averaged almost 5 yards a carry. No? Was it 24 for 68, 69, whatever it is? But it was enough to keep the clock running. I enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was going to be a high-scoring game, but I love the fact that defense was going. You know what I'm saying? Like, I listened to it more than I could see it, but I did watch the replay after it came up on the NFL Network, so it was all good.
Yeah.
And to Dan, because I don't know if you read my comment, Kelsey wasn't being a bully. The specialists come on the field before everybody else so they can kick on both sides of the field. And then when the rest of the team comes out, they're supposed to go to their respective corners. And Justin Tucker wasn't moving.
Well, we kind of went over this at the very beginning. So punters and kickers get up until like the officially designated warm-up time. Like there is an official time, and this was all supposedly before that, because part of Justin's routine is to go out early, but part of Pat's routine is to go out early. And so this was apparently before the officially designated time, but it doesn't matter, Gooch, because
no, it wasn't before that, because Patrick wasn't the only one out there. Travis was out there. There was 3 or 4 receivers out there. They weren't going. That wasn't early. That team was on the field. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could give you that because Patrick goes out by himself and does his throwing routine. But there are other angles where there are receivers out there and other Ravens out there, and he was just sitting there. And I don't even watch Undisputed, but even Keyshawn Johnson was like, that's the right move. You're not supposed to be down there. Even if you were kicking, like, you stay out of the other team's way, but you don't kick from the goal line. So why are you there with a kicking tee with a ball on the goal line? Like, you were intentionally trying to poke the bear and instigate some stuff. Like, I don't buy that. You knew what you were doing. If the ball was on the 30 and you were doing your normal routine by stretching on the 5, okay, but you had the ball set up on the goal line where you never kick from.
Right. You know, I did hear McAfee talk about it and said something about some kickers have like a drill where they, you know, like kick it from the 1 or the goal line and they move back 5 yards or whatever. And I have seen some photos of him doing it in other games, but it wasn't when other players are there. You know, listen, I don't know, because maybe there were that many Chiefs, you know, players out there, and it was before that officially designated time, but it doesn't matter here, Gooch, because somebody thought that they were making the Ravens case here and posted this, but I underlined or I highlighted this yellow part because it's really the only part that matters, right? And it says kickers and punters will have priority on the field prior to the scheduled start time for the official team warm-up period, which many claim this was. But it says while practicing kickoffs, field goal attempts, and punts. He wasn't doing any of those things. He was stretching on the field. So it doesn't really matter.
What's up, Dub? How you doing, son?
I'm good, man.
Mustache looking nice and thick today, nice and full.
Whatever.
Yeah, I got to keep this beard at least until the Super Bowl. I'm like, I grew it through the winning streak, so I got to keep it now until after the Super Bowl.
Which the Chiefs are underdogs again, which I don't understand really.
You know, here's the funny thing, Dan, and again, I was on this early on Twitter. I'm like, pre-game, I'm like, Travis isn't playing around. Like, you know, here's the thing, like when Travis does something joking around, you can still see like a little smidge and a smirk in his face, right? Like Pat was joking around at first because, you know, he doesn't come out there to be a jerk, right? He tries to, even when people hit, even when like Max Crosby or someone, you know, hits him and sacks him, he'll get up and say, hey, you know, that was a great hit, or, you know, whatever. That's who Pat is, right? And so I think it's kind of one of those moments where, you know, I'm not trying to make a big deal out of this. Please move your stuff. And he said something about Pat or Travis did, right? Because they've been, after Justin came out and tried to pretend to be a choir boy, you know, and say it was no big deal, Pat and Travis had now talked about this. One of the two said that Justin like winked at him after he got up and moved his stuff over a foot.
Dog, you could see while he's sitting there in the video when Kelsey's throwing the footballs out of the way, he's sitting there with a smirk on his face.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing. I mean, he knew what he was doing, but listen, the people who are trying to make this into Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce being entitled and being the bad guys, like Mahomes said, he's only ever had this happen 3 times in his whole career. Each time was in Baltimore. I'm sorry, but if we're talking about the GOAT kicker against arguably the GOAT quarterback, or, you know, whatever, greatest of all time of all football players, or, you know, on his way there, on that trajectory, you're a freaking kicker and you're warming up. You're not kicking. Like, you're over on their side and you're not kicking.
Look, Keyshawn and Richard Sherman said if it had been the defense, they'd have physically moved him. And the reason why they threw the footballs and stuff, that was respect because of who he is. Because if he had been a younger kicker, the offense would have physically moved him. Like, they don't play that. He's like, defense guys are a little crazier, and that's respect for you being who you are, because they would have just moved you. Hey, you need to get out of here, and they would have escorted you, but they're trying to be cool about it. Like, so I don't – like, you knew what you were doing, and you got the 2 nicest guys on the team probably that are just like, all right, you know, we'll play along. Just go ahead and get this on out of here. But you ain't doing that if it's Chris Jones walking out there, or 2 guns if Frank Clark was still on the team. You ain't pulling that with them.
Right.
And
you know,
it just made him mad enough to just beat you up anyway for 4 quarters.
And I don't know if you guys saw this. Here, I'll have to, if I show this, I'll have to pull it up in browser. But I don't know if you guys saw what Travis said about it. Like, after they were talking about when Tucker came on to kick his field goal, that if he missed it, Pat and Travis, they're like, hey, we were willing to take a 15-yard penalty. We were going to run out there. Like, at that point, it's petty Mahomes, right? But, yeah, I don't know if I can pull it up here, but I don't know if you guys got a chance to see that or not.
I sure didn't.
Here, let me see if I can get – I got to do it on my browser, so –
Daryl said hi to you, Gooch.
all right, let's see.
Hey, Daryl, what's up, brother? How you doing? How you doing?
All right. I think this should work now. But so you guys can get the audio. Wait, did it? Try that one more time. Yeah.
Boots here.
Should be good.
So I'm gonna be off camera.
Yep, you're fine. I'm gonna play this. So, all right. Let me know if you guys can hear this. I'm gonna hit play. Oops, I forgot to get it shared again.
I'm not hearing it.
There's no sound.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it shared yet. There we go. Now, let me know if you guys can hear. All right, good. Let me know if you can hear this once I hit play.
And then both the football people.
Oh, yeah, I can hear it.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Justin Tucker was going to beat your ass, dude. He was going to beat your ass. You know that. Hey, Pat, he's going to beat your ass.
I'll tell you, Pat, me and Patrick were on the sideline in the fourth quarter when Tucker had that chance to cut the lead to one score. If he would have missed that field goal, we were 100% getting a 15-yard flag.
But of course he made it, of course. You can't let us have any fun.
Yeah.
Have any fun, man.
Yeah, and of course.
I was 1,000% getting flagged for that one.
Could you imagine you two sprinting on the field?
Yeah.
Your guys' relationship is sweet, too.
Yeah.
You and Patrick.
You got it right there.
An absolutely beautiful thing. And then both.
All right. No. I don't know how much we should believe them, but regardless, I would have paid to see it. Yeah, Daryl says Ravens were playing dirty ball. I think you guys came in late, but I showed a picture on the 4th and 1 handoff to Pacheco of Jadeveon Clowney kicking him. Did you guys see this? Aaron, I know you're eating, so you don't have to answer, but Gooch, did you see this play? You know what we're talking about here?
I didn't see it. I saw the leg whip of Chris Jones, who now has a quad injury.
Yeah, that was the tripping in the end zone that should have resulted in a safety.
The running back.
But here, let me see if I can find it again here.
While you're looking, I just want to point out, like, the one thing that nobody takes out of that clip is the fact that Travis corrected himself when Mahomes is on camera out of respect for his mother, because his mother hates when people call him Pat. Now, when they're having conversations about him and he's not on camera, it's always Pat, 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 Pat. But Travis called himself and was like Patrick while he was on the thing. And I watched something with Brittany Mahomes. She calls him Patrick.
Listen, I call him Pat. I'm always going to call him Pat. I don't care about that. My mom calls me Steven. My wife calls me Steven. Nobody cares what I like, what I want to be called. They call me whatever they want to, right?
Yeah, brother, but you're not the face of a $1 billion franchise.
Listen, I don't care. Pat, Andy, Travis, everyone who Pat has a relationship with other than his mom and probably his dad and his wife call him Pat, right? So it's like your mom and your wife are always going to call you whatever the hell they want.
All I'm saying is that there's a respect thing, and I think it was cool. Regardless of how you feel about it, I think the respect thing for someone's mother and how you call them their kid on screen is great. Sure. I'm not going to take away from it. I don't agree with it myself. I'm not saying I'm not agreeing. I'm not saying I disagree with you that it was respectful. It was. To me, it's just a non-issue. And it's something that people have tried to attack Chiefs fans for like 3 years now. Like, I'm sorry, Randy Mahomes can call her son whatever she wants. She can't tell 8 billion people what the hell they have to call him, right? And especially when those around him call him Pat.
Like, my mom is not, listen, if you respect my mom and call me Steven, that's great. Okay. Now that you know that's what she calls me. But that's not what I want to be called. And I'm my own freaking person. Right? That's all. All right, we're getting off. Here's the photo if you guys can see it here. This is there's video that Cole, how about those Chiefs, shared, but someone in the comments shared this photo from a different angle of Jadeveon Clowney's foot, right? That looks like it's inside the shoulder pad at some point, up below the chin there. That's on the 4th and 1. How do you guys feel about this play? This is what Daryl, I think part of what Daryl was talking about here about the Ravens were playing dirty football, right?
I thought I saw it during the game and I was yelling about it.
Yeah, I didn't see this one. I saw Jones get tripped. I think that was pretty evident. We also got Travis Jones club Mahomes in the head. Dan believes that it was an accident. I don't really know. I don't really care. Then there was the helmet to helmet hit that seemed fairly intentional. I don't know.
That definitely doesn't look like an accident.
This definitely isn't an accident. No. But anyway, yeah. So that I think this is what
by the running back either.
What's that?
Wasn't an accident by the running back either, kicking Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, he was clearly tripping him on purpose. So, yeah. That's what Daryl, I believe those are the things that Daryl's talking about here. And then who was it? Man, there were some Ravens fans that were talking about, the whole John Harbaugh, what Andy said last week about no dancing or whatever. I think Gooch, you were the one who brought it up, right? On last week's show about Andy saying we're not going to be dancing, this week or whatever it was, no dancing. And there were some Ravens fans who's like, you know what? Looking back on that, we should have known. We're dancing. The Chiefs, Andy Reid's like, no dancing, boys. There were some Ravens fans that were like, yeah, we should have known then that we were going to lose. I think Gooch was talking about that last week, though. All right. All right. Everybody's already talked about that ridiculous hold on Trey Smith on that screen that brought back a touchdown? Right? Brought back a touchdown, I believe. Let me see. I gotta figure out how I can share this one. Try to figure it out. Oh. But yeah, man, you know what? Going into this game, it was like Ravens fans act a lot better than Bills fans and Bengals fans and stuff. And it was just like, and then after the game, like they straight up flipped a switch. And things got crazy. All right, I'm going to see if I can open this. Oh, it's not opening it. Weird. Try to do it this way, guys. Oh, where is it at?
Hello, tornado.
That's tornado.
Fair enough. I think Steve's son just said it now.
What's that?
Tornado, the way Gooch said it.
All right, here we go. Let's see if I can get this. I did want to share this because if anyone saw this play during the game, right? And sometimes, right, we're watching the game and we just see something happen and we don't see like what the breakdown is. Okay, so as you can see on the play, I'm going to stop it here so you can read that for a second. So, yeah, Mike McDonald did do some crazy things in this game. One of the things that the Ravens did here, right, is you see Creed and CEH, right? They do their signals, who's blocking who. And as soon as Creed puts his head down to get ready to snap the ball, you see the two players switch, right? So Patrick Queen and I can't see who the defensive tackle is there. They switch after Creed puts his head down, right? So when you watch the play, right, Creed points at his guy. Here, Creed will point at his guy. Right? He knows who he has. CH knows who he has. And then you see the defensive tackle jump over to the other side. Right? And then Queen replaces him. Creed doesn't even see this because his head's down at this moment. So they're both going to the same guy because, and listen, I want to know what you guys think, right? I tried to get Mitch or Jeff Schwartz or even Jeff Allen to answer this question, but I think I know the answer. But you guys see this play?
Yeah.
CEH or Creed Humphrey has his head down, so he doesn't even see what happens, right? Here's my question.
Smith missed his guy, though, is what it looked like to me.
It's not Smith, right? It should be Creed's guy, but Creed's guy jumps the gap over when Creed puts his head down and over to where Queen is. And then Queen goes and he goes through the gap that Creed's guy was in. Creed doesn't know that they switched. His head's down. Creed's supposed to have one of them, right? CEH is supposed to have Queen. They both go for Queen because Creed is going for, to the guy to his left, which is no longer the defensive tackle, it's Queen. And, my thing is, and I don't know what, Andy Heck, like, this is a teachable moment. This is something they got to figure out. But my thing is there, all right, if CEH and Creed are the two guys responsible for those two guys. Isn't it on CEH as the one of the two who actually sees what the hell happens here to then still take the guy that comes through that gap? Who is that? Is that BAK? I think that's, is it? I don't know. I'd have to look it up. But so he's what? He's at the one tack on the left side. He switches over to the right. Creed doesn't see it because his head's down. Okay, if they stayed where they were, CEH has taken Patrick Queen here, and Creed is taking Matabike or whoever that is, number 96, on the play. But as soon as Creed puts his head down, they basically swap gaps, which is crazy because it's a lack of communication on CEH's part with Creed, right? It can't be on Creed because his head is down. He doesn't even see what's happening. So, pre-snap, Creed, I got 96, you have 6. Well, then they swap, right? But Creed doesn't know that 96 is no longer to his left, that instead it's going to be 6. He goes to his left, and CEH goes for the guy he's supposed to have. Like, it's a great job by the defensive coordinator, right, of testing the communication of the protection on this play. In my opinion, the only person who has the onus on this play to provide better communication is CEH. Now, I mean, I guess you could counter with, well, if CEH takes Matabike, he's going to get destroyed there, right? You still have a 215-pounder against a 320-pounder or whatever Matabike is. So what? I mean, what's the answer here? But Mike McDonald did do some good things. I wanted to show that it's definitely something that they, like I said, listen, you put stuff on tape like this, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you better, right? It makes you better. Nate Taylor, I think he said that today, right? If you go back and you look at the Ravens' schedule this year, they were never trailing in any game. The Raven that they won, they were never trailing in any game by 2 scores or more at halftime, or I think he said even at any point in the game. I don't know if that's true, but I think that's what he said, at any point in the game.
It sounds right.
And, he's like,
they don't come from behind.
That's it. Yeah, that's what he said. This is a team that was not tested, that wasn't tested with adversity. They didn't have adversity that they didn't have to overcome. They just didn't have to.
Anything. And that's pretty much how that team's been since he got there, isn't it? Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I don't know. He
starts forcing stuff as soon as they see any adversity, and usually throws the ball up. That's what I was waiting for all game.
Here's what I would say to that, though, right? Even to the extent that you would want to blame Lamar, then what the hell is John Harbaugh doing there? Because if that was Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid would be there. Right? Like, it's at some point, John Harbaugh, and this is a crazy thing, is like, we're still seeing basically the same thing, even now that Greg Roman is gone. I don't know what their answer is, but clearly it wasn't the offensive coordinator. Before, it looked like the offensive coordinator. So is it a John Harbaugh issue? Is it a Lamar Jackson issue? But, as someone else pointed out on Twitter, like, people pointing out how much the Ravens threw the ball, well, they were still throwing it 30 some, 40 some, times a game in their other playoff games.
And we probably have the best defensive backfield out of anybody. You don't try to throw on us. You're gonna get further with the run.
Yeah, I think it was interesting because there was like, I want to say 6 running back carries in the game. Lamar had 6, I think. And between Hill and Edwards, they had 6. And then Zay Flowers had 2 runs. And that was the whole game. So 14 runs. Excuse me. The whole game. Now, some of that I do think was actually, the defense stifling some of them, right? Even Lamar's big run on 4th down was aided by a block. By a hold that didn't get called. They had very few. They had very few good runs. I'm not here to trash Lamar because I don't know what the answer is, but yeah, I think it's crazy.
The answer is Spags put together a really good game plan. And he had 4 down linemen. And after they broke off that 14-yard run by Gus Edwards, he had Tranquil, Bolton, and Leo Chenal, and he went big.
Yeah.
And so he basically gave them a 6 or 7 man in the box look, and he trusted Snead and McDuffie to play man-to-man on the receivers with Reed and Collins backing them up. And so if you think, because Spags was bringing 5 or 6 guys that he blitzed at the end of the game, I guess it was 45% of the time. So if he's bringing pressure, which was basically to stop the run, he's going to force you to pass. Like you just don't run the ball.
Did you mean Connor?
Yeah, Connor. Yeah. And that was Spags bringing that pressure. At one point during the game, I think I heard Spags was blitzing every other play. Like it was like the blitz rate, the pressure, the extra man coming across the line rate was 50%. Spags was just dialing it up. You know what I'm saying? So if you've got all those big guys there to put pressure on you and or a better ability to stop the run, but your corners are out there on islands, as an offensive coordinator, you think that you have a better chance of moving the ball through the air. It just so happens we've got all pro corners.
Yep. And I wanted to clarify, I wasn't trying to put Lamar down. I was actually going to talk him up because he was poised up until the end of the game. He didn't throw one up until the end.
Well, and I think a lot of it too, though, with any quarterback, like, and Keith said it best, like, best way to get to Brady, knock him off his spot. You know what I'm saying? If you can get to Mahomes and you can get to Mahomes a bunch, he tends to not want to stay in the pocket. He wants to get out a lot faster, which kind of throws the offense off a little bit. If Lamar, who hasn't really been getting pressured all year long, Houston did it. The only problem with Houston is they didn't have no depth, so their guys were tired. And then they weren't getting any pressure, and we had people to rotate. But if you can get Lamar flustered where you're clogging up the running lanes for him with backers, you've got a spy that's going to keep him running east and west instead of north and south. He's trying to get the ball out. Like he was uncharacteristically for this year long on a lot of his passes, just because he didn't want to hold it too much longer. You know what I'm saying? His internal clock. Spags was smart. Like it was a delayed blitz. I think they said Lamar was holding the ball for almost 3.5 seconds every time he dropped back to pass. And that just throws the internal clock off. Like it was a masterful defensive plan by Spags.
Which happens quite often in the playoffs. Like even against Tom Brady, as the defensive coordinator of the New York Giants, it happened. Like playoff Spags is a real thing.
And we're not just talking about Tom Brady. We're like, he stopped the 18-0, Tom Brady, Randy Moss. I don't know if Edelman was there, if it was Welker, that team. You know what I'm saying? Like this was Brady at pretty much the height of his powers at that time. I think Moss had 28 touchdowns receiving. Brady had over 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards. They were mowing people down. That's why I call the FU season, where they were like beating people 50-20 and stuff like that. Like, and Spags ended up putting a stop to that in the Super Bowl. It's a real deal. Spags is smart. And then when you have the same system and the same guys in it, and then you start getting pieces that you can rotate to different positions and still get the same productivity out of them, and they're all young. And since he's not going to be a head coaching candidate, like, as long as Andy's there, and as long as they can replace the people they lose with similar talent, like, that defense is going to always be good.
Shamari Connor looks great. Nazeeh Johnson
he really does.
Before he got injured in the preseason or training camp, whatever it was. So, that backfield looks like it's still going to be fairly loaded no matter what happens in there. But I think it's just a mixture of things. And even going back to the whole, when Mahomes was asked about facing, Lamar, to him, it was a great challenge. When Lamar was asked about, if he liked facing Pat, he said no. And I think some of that is some built-in pressure, mentally for Lamar, right? Just the fact that you're facing Patrick Mahomes to him, right? And I think is in his own head. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be, right?
No.
Because when the Chiefs get up 2 scores, like it is going to mentally mess with you. Like you're
sitting on the visitor or the home sideline and you look across the field and you see Thanos. Like, really? That's not going to mess with you? Like,
if you've seen that Texans playoff game, it should mess with everybody. You know what I mean? If you've seen the 13-second game, yeah, like, as another quarterback, it should be in your freaking head. Like, it should be. But yeah, you're 100% right. Like, and if you look at the Ravens have a great defense too. It's the exact opposite of the Chiefs, though, right? Like, the Ravens defense is great because they have a great front seven plus Kyle Hamilton. Like, that's basically it, right? That was their defense. Great front seven and Kyle Hamilton. The Chiefs have a great back seven and Chris Jones. Like, so it's basically flip-flopped, which I think is why many people expected they were going to just run the ball like 60 times, right? Kind of like the Bills did, against Kansas City and got like 183 yards or whatever it was. But as Gooch pointed out, and it wasn't even so much 7 in the box. It was basically 8 because Justin Reed was right up there lurking, right? Most of the time. And he could back up into whatever zone they had him playing, but he was basically in the box for all intents and purposes. And if he saw it wasn't a run, but if he saw it was a run, he was basically there to make it an 8-man box, right? But yeah, it was interesting because we wondered what they were going to do. You didn't have Willie Gay to spy Lamar. It turned out you didn't really need anyone to spy Lamar because from what I saw, they did what I said they should do, and that was basically they took their game plan from the first time they played the Bills, right? They rushed Lamar enough and they blitzed him enough to make him think it was always coming, but half the time the defensive line was not trying to penetrate and get to him. The defensive line was engaging with the offensive line, and they were basically just standing there, waiting for Lamar to throw. Early in the game, they were getting their hands up and batting passes.
Well, the thing is Spags had told them the reason why you saw that pressure in the defensive line really kind of not going after him is Spags was telling basically cutting off their instinct. Like, don't go get him because he's going to take off on you.
It's like
You know
keep
what
it
I'm
in the
saying?
box or keep him in a box or something like that, right?
Right.
that's
And
what
if you're busy trying to pressure him, and let's say you rush and you're now behind him, well, now you've given him a clear lane to go take off running. So it's more or less like engage your guy, hold him up. If you can get to him during that, great, but don't like ignore everything that you've been taught from Pee Wee all the way up till now, and don't go get him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, and I think that like we just hit him back in the mouth. Like, you know, Mike Tyson said it best. Everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You've been the bullies all year long to everybody. And you're playing a team that, you know, has their back against the wall. The defending champs had their back against the wall. Everybody was talking about it. Like, nobody bet on them, though. You know, the Chiefs went 5-5 over their last 10. They're limping into the playoffs. They got blew out by the Raiders on Christmas. They're going to be one and done. They've never played on the road before. Oh, the reason why they won is because Buffalo's defense was injured. And it's like, okay, their defense was injured. So why couldn't they score points?
With the Pat Mahomes-led Chiefs, we have been better on the road historically. Maybe it didn't involve the playoffs because we haven't ever played anywhere else in the playoffs, but yeah, we play better on the road.
And I think some of that has to
come at home.
I think some of that has to do with the lights, right, at Arrowhead at night. But I also think some of it has to do with, and I don't want to sound like I'm personally attacking anyone's family, but I think some of it has to do with the fact of you have different habits when you're on the road and you're not allowed to be distracted by being at home, right? Like you're away from your family, you're not distracted. And I think that there's some guys on the team who, when we play at home, haven't found the right pregame routine, like the right routine leading up to a game. Not like just pregame, but the days leading up to a game. And listen, I'm not saying you have to be Tom Brady and like, you know, move out of your house and like you're not married, you know, you don't have kids during the season. I'm not saying that, but it's got to be a little bit closer than that because it works on the road. Like there's something on the road that's different. And part of that equation is not being at home and not being around your family. So I'm the family guy and I'm saying that, but I can say that. So I don't think Hannah's still listening. Didn't all three of who take the Ravens? Are we talking about the picks pool? If we're talking about the picks pool, Daryl, I did not take the Ravens like these two traders did. But I understand why they were traitorious. Because I had a lead on them of like what? 2, 3? And they were trying to just get one. They were just trying to get one back, right? So I understand why they did what they did, but no, I did not take the Ravens. I did not have the Ravens covering, and I don't even remember. Did I have the over or under? It doesn't matter at this point.
I actually picked the opposite about just about everything I wanted to pick. So everybody was taking Detroit, so I had to take San Francisco. Everybody took Kansas City, so I had to take Baltimore.
I had to take Detroit. Detroit was my preseason NFC Super Bowl team. So
I will give
of
you
course I
that.
was going to take Detroit. And I should have won too. Detroit led that game for like 3 quarters.
Up 17. I think that's the only one I got right was San Francisco. Oh, no, they didn't get it. You still got it. Because they only
because they
lost by
scored that
3.
touchdown again. Yeah, but then when they gave up all those points, they took the over and I had the under.
But I was trying to help us, not hurt us.
Yeah, I'm a Chiefs fan, and I want the Chiefs to win. Like, me picking that wasn't a result of my fandom. It was more or less me trying to catch up to Stevie. We even said that in the video.
Listen, you guys know regardless, I'm giving you a hard time. Here's something we haven't talked about. Alex Smith, right, did an interview and kind of put the whole Dorsey versus Veach thing to bed, didn't he? Saying that that Brett Veach had a crush on Patrick Mahomes since his freshman year at Texas Tech and was like always watching film of him and coming in and talking about him, even to Alex. Did you guys see that interview he gave where he
I
said
guess
that?
not.
You didn't see that?
I guess not.
Okay.
I know he said once we drafted him, he was the best player he's ever seen.
Well, let me see if I can find the video. But yeah, Alex gave an interview. Forget who it was with, but came out and was like talking about how Brett Veach had been like on Mahomes since his freshman year at Texas Tech.
And by the way, Daryl got 3 out of 4. I went ahead and wrote his down with ours, and he only missed the over-under on the San Francisco game. Those are my initials, Dan.
Oh, why can't I find this?
Can you tell whose locker I'm in that picture? Dan? I think Gooch and Steve already know this, but we could have forgotten by now.
What's that?
What locker I'm standing in that photo? My avatar?
Yeah, I forgot.
Gooch, do you remember?
Is it Dustin Colquitt's?
Yes.
Okay. Then I forgot that I didn't forget. That doesn't even make sense, but whatever.
I can't even think of how many years ago it was. But my company actually took a visit and tour for one of our Christmas parties or something like that.
All right, here, let me pull this up for you since you didn't see it. Okay. We should get audio with this. Okay. This was on the Adam Schefter pod. All right, let me know if you guys can't hear this.
I think Patrick had just finished his freshman year at Texas Tech, and I can remember Veach coming in, and he was Brett Veach, who is now, for everybody out there, he is the GM of the Chiefs. He's huge responsibility for taking Patrick and moving up. He was in love with Patrick after his freshman year. I remember him coming in. It was a great relationship there. He came in the QB room. He's like, "You guys got to see this guy." Like that, like, because we would always talk ball, talk college football and different stuff. And he had his eyes on him for a long time. I'll say that. And so did Andy. I think Patrick had just finished his freshman.
Yeah, I've definitely not seen that.
Yeah,
Like
it just
watch
came out.
anything Alex Smith.
It just came out. Was it today? Yesterday? Today, I believe. Right, this morning. So,
Hey, real KB.
so yeah, wanted to throw that one out there because it kind of puts the whole thing to bed a bit more. But listen, again, as I said on Twitter today, it's like both sides are kind of right on that, right? Like John Dorsey drafted can we say John Dorsey drafted 3 Hall of Fame players in Mahomes, Chris Jones, and Travis Kelce? Like, can we call Chris Jones a Hall of Famer? Because if so, John Dorsey drafted 3 Hall of Fame players that are currently on this team, right? But Brett Veach has still surrounded them with 50 other guys, who are either really great players in their own right or really great depth. So it's like both guys, had a hand in this. But Brett Veach is building the team now, so. Don't worry, Aaron. I won't play any Tom Brady talking about Patrick Mahomes clips, but
Thank you.
But he has been asked about Mahomes a lot this week, and he's had a lot of great things to say. So
I don't care. Fuck that guy.
There's a lot of animosity.
I can look past all the Manning stuff. He's fucking hilarious. I don't care about Brady.
Oh, true, Dan. Tyreek Hill. But yeah, I was thinking of players still with the team. Yeah, Tyreek. So 4 Hall of Fame players. We're probably forgetting 1 or 2 other players, though, by that right. Well, Aaron, it sounds like Tom Brady is going to be like the number 1 sports guy at Fox. So you better
which means he might be calling some Chiefs games next year.
You better get used to it.
That's when I start listening to the radio.
Or start paying $12.99 a month for NFL Network.
Oh, I guess I already do.
No, all you got to do is like tune in to whatever Mitch is on, right?
Radio.
Or download the Chiefs app, and you can get Mitch on the Chiefs app every game there.
I believe they're behind, or no, the radio's ahead of what we're seeing.
Yeah, you got to get it synced right. You can pause the audio feed though, right? So the radio pause it so that you can sync it up with the video. You should be able to do that. Speaking of Mitch, though, did you guys hear him talking? I think it was pre-game, right? So the Ravens opened the game, right, with the Morgan State University choir singing the national anthem. Morgan State University is where Willie Lanier went to college. Then they had the stealth bomber flyover that flew out of Whitman Air Force Base. And Mitch kept talking about the Ravens were unknowingly like bringing Kansas City to Baltimore. Kind of a little fun thing there. Is it Whitman or is it Whiteman? Whitman?
Whiteman Air Force Base?
Whiteman? Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they flew in the bombers from Whiteman Air Force Base. It's like bringing in a Kansas City Chiefs flavor to the whole game.
It's not too terribly far from me. It's less than an hour. And that's driving.
Who could they cover with Reek Rice and Kelsey? We're talking about Tyreek.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I understand.
I'm sure. If we still had Reek, I think is what he's going for.
Yeah. Hey man, it is what it is, but at least we don't have to worry about the drama there, right? Like, so you got the house burning down. You started with the marina fight, then you had the house burning down, and then the latest thing was Tyreek denying and then blaming his people for filing divorce papers on his wife. And it's like, have fun with that one, Dolphins.
No, we didn't file for divorce. That's BS. We didn't do that. And it's like, I did, but I didn't tell my guy to file it. Nah.
Yeah, it was
Bro,
like
you already got like 5 baby mamas suing you for money, bro. Like,
that's what happens when you go for the big bucks.
Is it appropriate to just say, hey, listen, Tyreek, okay, get yourself a housekeeper, keep your hands off of her, find yourself someone you want to have fun with, don't marry them because clearly you're not
Mature
the kind
enough?
of person that wants to be in a committed relationship, or even like whose focus is on, anything other than sports. Like, is it fair to just say, don't be marrying anyone, just stay out of relationships, right? Like, even if it's not your fault, at some point you just got to be like,
not even not marry him. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Just be out of relationships, period.
They make protection for you, bro, so you can stop having kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're making $30 million a year. If these women have it their way, 25, it's going to go to them. Let's be real.
Definitely have to have a level of maturity before you think about any of it. But yeah, Lamar Watson learned the hard way of the direction Gooch is talking about going. Maybe it's just better for you to live in Vegas. You're paying, but you're not paying out millions.
Yeah, and like I said, like, apparently, like, Tyreek in relationships do not exist. So, like, try to find something more workable, right? Stay out of Deshaun's black book of masseuses, and just, like, I don't know.
I don't either. I'm married.
It's drama we don't have to do.
Sorry, Gooch.
You don't have to be sorry for me, brother. I feel sorry for you.
You should for me, at least.
Liz isn't in the chat, so you're probably safe saying that. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. I'm good.
Any free agents we should try to sign?
We're talking about in the off season, or are we talking about like right now to try to replace like a Minahue? Because I would be in favor of Carlos Dunlap. I'm not in favor of bringing Frank back. He's been cut 3 times in the last 11 months. Two of those have been by playoff teams.
I think he's forgotten how to try.
I don't know. I haven't watched him enough this year to know like is like physically, has he just kind of hit a wall? I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's rough. It's rough when you win two rings and then you got to go to a team that, or two teams that, or one team that, two teams that aren't going to be in contention. You know what I'm saying? Like it's.
Well, I mean, the Seahawks were like they were in contention, but I get what you're saying.
Till week 10.
I mean, it would be hard in general, right, to go from Mahomes and Travis and Andy and Chris Jones and Spags and this defense to basically any other team. It would be hard, right? It's kind of like when Randy Moss and other players have went to the Raiders and they just kind of had their career die for a year until Bill Belichick or someone rescued them for like a 6th round pick. It's like, so I get what you're saying, but do we really think like that's the answer? Is like if he came to the Chiefs right now, all of a sudden, like he would, take it up like 15 notches. I don't know. I understand people believe in the myth of playoff Frank. And
No, if he came to the team now, he'd just throw off the chemistry and stuff that they've got going after playing all year together.
I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, and I don't mean this to sound bad because I know that there are fans and there are probably players who loved Frank when he was talking. But that's kind of like, that's what we attack other teams as players for doing. Like this defense, right? This isn't Anthony Hitchens or Tyrann Mathieu or Frank Clark like running their mouths nonstop, right? Maybe Justin Reed a little bit, right? But I think they kind of put the clamps on that.
And no offense, we don't need two guns in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just asking for trouble.
Yeah. Whatever even happened to like his court case? I don't even think I heard anything about that.
No clue.
I bet if he'd stayed with the Chiefs, he would have gotten some kind of trouble. So yeah, if you're asking about right now, I think Carlos Dunlap is about the only person that, and I doubt he's even anywhere close to being in shape. Like, I think they just got to go with the guys they have on this team. But if you were going to talk someone for now, I really liked Dunlap last year, and I wanted them to bring him back. So
seems like old FAU needs to step up now.
FAU, we might need to see some stuff from BJ Thompson. Deanna Wharton, you guys have paydays to earn.
Oh, we haven't seen much of the rookie yet.
Well, I mean, he was in the first 6 games or whatever during his suspension. Not a whole lot, but he was in each game, I believe, until Minihue came back.
I think it's time for him to show why we got him with their first pick.
That would actually be kind of funny if he got like legitimate Super Bowl snaps and we got enough of a picture to where it's like, hey, this kid's legit, right? So we end this Super Bowl kind of like we did last year with our cornerbacks, right? And it's like, these guys are playing awesome for rookies. Like, what if that happened? I don't think it's going to happen in the Super Bowl, but what if it did for FAU to where, we have this to be continued after winning the Super Bowl, and it's FAU actually playing his sophomore season.
Well, Rice and Connor have been great.
I assume Beach knows what he's doing and got this kid for a reason. And hopefully it wasn't just he was the last of the best linemen to grab defensive ends.
Yeah. And speaking of Rice, and I'm going to assume, Aaron, you haven't seen that video either of Brett Veach talking about how the Chiefs actually tried to trade up in the first round to get a receiver and weren't able to. Nobody wants to trade with Kansas City, right? It's like nobody wants to let Kansas City trade up for anyone. So I think we can just any dreams of us trading up in the first to get any player, I don't know that it's going to happen anymore, right? Because like Veach said, like he tried to trade up in the first. No one would trade with them. That they ended up still getting Rice in the second. I don't think anyone's going to trade up, is going to trade back and let us trade up in the first again this next year. Hey, Knight, good to see you.
Hey, Matt.
The part that he left out is that they were trying to trade up for Zay Flowers.
I'm happy with who we ended up getting.
Yeah.
You saw him standing over Snead, and then Snead made him pay for it. Punched that ball right out. The next throw his direction. I was laughing.
Yeah, that's poetry right there. It's like
exactly.
And the best part was that, well, you know what? All right. Because I do feel bad for Flowers because I cannot imagine like mentally and emotionally how much that is going to eat at him over the next 200 some days.
Right.
Like as a human being, I feel really bad for him because like it's just going to like, how do you get away from that? Right. But I mean, that's sports. Like
he definitely learned a lesson, I think.
Every winner, there's a loser. There has to be,
And Snead's all about teaching lessons.
So, yeah, I'm glad we got Rice. But man, that 32-yard catch by MVS was clutch.
Absolutely.
And we should have known MVS is the wide receiver version of Demetrius Harris. Drop the easy ones, but man, can they catch the hard ones.
That's a pretty good analogy.
Yeah, he liked Flowers. I think he liked a lot of those guys, though, right?
Who was the other rookie he had with him?
He had Quentin Johnson in, didn't he? Flowers, Johnson, right. Rice, maybe another one or two.
And we were never getting Johnson.
Who had kind of an ugly year until Herbert got hurt. Then Easton Stick seemed to know how to throw to him. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Knight says of possible free agent signings, Hollywood Brown is still possible. Are we talking next season now? Listen, I don't know what Veach is going to do. Like, I think it's hard to look at this defense and not strongly hope that there's a way to bring the guys back. But it's going to be really hard. And we just lost our cap expert to the Panthers, so.
Really?
Yep. Brant Tillis left to go to the Panthers and join the front office.
Go to the Panthers over us. That just seems like a horrible move.
Well, some people don't like rings, I guess.
I'm ready to get another one. I'm not.
You hear that, Liz?
Millions of dollars, but
You hear that, Liz? Aaron's looking for a new lady.
A new ring. I've got these first two, not the 1969 one, but I got to try on. Man, I can't think of his name. It was a pinky ring for me, though. The band leader, Gooch. Tony DePardo. I got to try his 69 ring. We used to do quite a bit of work for him. Great guy. He got out one of his shovels that was given to him. It was a gold shovel. He's going to start digging with us in his 90s. I'm like, that's what we're here for. You don't have to do that. We're trying to put drain tile in because he was getting water into the house. And him and his wife did some commercials for us when we owned Leaf Guard. And then they stopped letting us use them, and we had to use their squirrel. Yeah. Good times. What's going on, Denver Gator? Chief Nerds. I like that. What are you doing in Florida there, Daryl? Right about 3 weeks. You taking off, KB? Have a good one. What's going on with Matt tonight?
Oh, Denver Gator. What's up, Chief Nerds? Hey, there's a football nerd. There's a nerd in the house. I know Gooch is singing the actual song in his head right now. Well, we appreciate you stopping in here.
Absolutely.
Man, I was like 7:27. I'm like, man, I need some coffee or I need to go to sleep. And then I got started and I got ranting about various things from Twitter, and like now I'm all ready to go. Is Gooch even on? Yeah, Gooch has been on. Right now he might be on the throne though.
We're taking a phone call.
Yep, or saving a restaurant. Real KB asks, will the team be really motivated for the Super Bowl, or will it seem anticlimactic after the Bills and Ravens games? I don't think that's a problem at all. This team seemed really focused for the Ravens game. And I think that as long as everyone out there keeps giving them material, making them the underdogs, and I think Pat has learned enough now, right, to take everything, how to take everything and turn it into ammo. And certainly Bobby Stroop, his personal trainer, is going out there and finding plenty of bulletin board material. But Yeah, I mean, I think. Listen, it's different for Pat, right? Because Pat's chasing Tom Brady in the amount of rings, so Pat has that kind of like to keep him stimulated. You know, Andy's chasing the 4-ring club, right? And he's chasing Bill Belichick with his rings. So, you know, I think those guys are good. Travis, some people are going to say, I think that, you know, there's some people that think this is his Travis's last year. If that's the case and he shared that at all with Pat or anyone, you know, there's your extra motivation. But I think that, you know, they understand between Travis and Andy and, you know, Chris Jones could be gone after this year. Snead could be gone after this year, you know, and you start looking at all the free agents. Excuse me. And I think they understand. I think they're plenty motivated, and Andy has done a great job. Pat has done a great job of keeping it in their heads that we're not done yet. Like, this is not, you know, this isn't the celebration. This isn't the mountaintop, right? This is where we're setting up camp for the night before we go to our final stop, which is the mountaintop. And I think that between Andy and the coaches and Pat and Travis and Chris, listen, those guys already know. Joe Tooney, who's been to how many Super Bowls now between the Patriots and the Chiefs, you know, Blaine Gabbert, who's been to 1 Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls, how many, 1 Super Bowl with the Buccaneers under Tom Brady, right? I think Blaine Gabbert has been underwhelming as a quarterback, statistically speaking, but we don't know what goes on, you know, during the week. We don't know what is going on, you know, mentally. He was with Tom Brady for multiple years. So I think there's an advantage there. He knows what Tom was doing Super Bowl 55, right? If everyone knows the story, you know, Tom Brady was texting his teammates at 11 o'clock. I think it was 11 o'clock at night, every single night leading up to the Super Bowl. And it was just basically, you know, we're going to win the Super Bowl. Like, he was telling them every night. So they had the thoughts in their head. Blaine Gabbert was around Tom Brady for multiple years as his backup. He knows everything Tom Brady was doing, right? I'm sure Patrick has been picking Tom Brady's brain and other people's brains. And I'm sure Blaine Gabbert's been one of those guys. So I don't think they have a problem with that. Aaron, has anything told you? Like, Travis coming in, really, the Justin Tucker thing, you know, is one of the reasons I had confidence, because that was pregame. And Travis is usually a jokester, but he was completely business and serious pregame right there. Like, that's when I knew, like, this team is focused. I know Aaron would rather talk about this comment by Daryl.
Yeah, I forgot about the grouper fishing he was talking about. I'm jealous. I think I'd probably get seasick, though.
I appreciate it, Denver Gator. I'm keeping it at least until after the Super Bowl. Then Mother Nature could continue to persuade me to keep it. You know, for years, I keep looking for one of those face masks that doesn't have the eye. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want a ski mask, but I want one like Lamar had on. You guys know what I'm talking about. But then I realized as I was growing this winter, especially when it got down to like negative 30 wind chills, is like, hey, this beard actually does most of the work that I'm wanting. I don't normally go for it, but that's why I also went with the Kyle Orton here. You know, you can see the neck hair as well, because all those cold days, but it's in the 60s this week, so it's going to test me a little bit. But
my brother was obsessed with Kyle Orton. It was pretty hilarious.
Old neckbeard. I don't know if Denver did you guys call Kyle Orton neckbeard when he was with the Broncos, or is that just something Chiefs fans did during that a very rough era for us? Dude, he
was the best quarterback we had back then, really.
He was the best quarterback we had, but he had no desire to be a starting quarterback. Like, he got thrust into the role and then he left the next season so he could go be a backup because he didn't want to be a starting quarterback. And hey, listen, I don't blame him, right? You still get paid good money and you have to do less work and you don't have pressure on you. So, but yeah, that always rubbed me the wrong way. But yeah, the wife likes the beard. She loves Travis, but I'm starting to gather that she also loves Jason. So the Kelsey brothers, yeah, might be a problem for my marriage. But did you guys call him that? Like, that's what Aaron, I don't know if you did, Aaron.
I never did.
But that's what he was affectionately referred to as by a lot of Chiefs fans, at least the ones who were in Arrowhead Pride.
He was calling the protections and everything. I liked him. Then his follow through went into the helmet of a defender, and yeah, he was kind of done after that. I thought he played real well for us. He just didn't have an offensive line.
And Knight, you're right, by the way. It is.
My wife just won't let me shave. I don't know.
She must be a Jason fan.
I think that's what she said, isn't it? Because she doesn't want women talking to me, or because it makes me look younger when I do shave. I don't know.
She doesn't want what? She doesn't want other women to like think she's a cougar or something. Like she married someone way younger than her. Is that what you're saying?
That's one of the things I was referring to.
Mm-hmm. All the things Aaron can say tonight since Liz isn't in the chat.
She can hear me, I'm sure. She wasn't far off sleeping, though.
Yeah, I like Jason. Jason and Travis seem like pretty great guys. It's been fun. It's been funny, though, listening to like Travis getting vilified now after the whole Tucker thing. Is like people are so stretching for things to be outraged about in regards to the Chiefs that like anything, right? Any little thing is like setting them off.
I know I did it with the Patriots, so I kind of get it.
I don't know if that I heard that one or not. Maybe not. I've heard a lot and read a lot this week. I don't remember that one, so I might not have heard it, though. They might. I don't really like it, but listen, I guess if we got to do it, we got to do it. So,
is this McAfee he's talking about?
Yeah, I don't know what the clip was, but yeah. So after the game when Jason came on the field,
Oh, I was not able to hear what he said. I just heard Travis start yelling. And of course, thanked him before he started yelling.
I'll have to see if I can find it.
Yeah, I was trying to actually send my mom to the Super Bowl. She was already in Vegas visiting my little brother, so yeah, tickets are pretty expensive there. So it wasn't all that doable, but I didn't even hear from my older brothers.
Yeah. Oh, gotta share this one. I told you guys, Patrick Mahomes' personal trainer is constantly on the outlook for bulletin board material, and I swear he feeds it to him throughout the weeks. This is Bobby Stroop right here with a screenshot of someone asking, is the Kansas City offense really fixed, or did they just play the two most depleted defenses in the NFL before only putting up 17 in the AFC Championship game?
I do remember seeing something about that.
So
I love billboard.
Bobby is always looking for stuff, and I love it. It makes me laugh because I truly believe that he starts every workout with Pat by showing him like everything that he's collected for the day. Like, I believe with all my heart that if his trainer is tweeting this stuff, that he's showing it to him too. And by the way, my answer to Robbie is, let's see, I believe the 49ers scored, was it 19 points against this Ravens defense? The Lions, who just put up 31 points on the 49ers, scored a grand total of 6 points when they lost 38-6 to the Ravens. So between those two teams, they scored a combined 25 points against the Baltimore Ravens defense. Kansas City had 17. We left at least 3 on the field when we went for it on 4th. That should have been converted at the very least on the penalty that should have been called on Jadeveon Clowney for tripping and then kicking Isaiah Pacheco. So right now you're at 20, which would put us 1 over what the 49ers, who are our NFC opponent, scored against the Ravens when they played them. And we had 1 touchdown called back on a BS holding call on Trey Smith, right?
Yep.
Essentially, we should have scored enough points in this game that we would have outscored both the 49ers and the Lions total against the Ravens combined in their regular season games. But Robbie asks, is it that we just faced the 2 most depleted defenses in the NFL before only putting up 17 in the AFC Championship game? Which again comes back to my thread earlier. Andy clearly took his foot off the gas when we had a 2-possession lead and really didn't care about much other than trying to run out the clock. And so, listen, if they needed more than 17 points, they would have already had what? They should have had 27 to begin with, but if they needed more, they would have scored more. And it was part of my one thread, right? It came down to the very last play, basically, of the game, 3rd and 9. They needed to make a play, and it was a 32-yard completion. Like, it's not that the Ravens were stopping them. It's basically that they said, we're not going to put stuff on film if we don't have to. We're just going to try to bleed this clock out because we have a great freaking defense. We have a great back 7 plus Chris Jones. And we know that the Ravens don't want to play us from behind because they're not comfortable. They're not used to it. I think that's your answer. I'm fine with people asking the question because asking questions are great, right? At the very least, you have to think about what the answer is. And anytime you think, I think you're doing something great. It's when you don't think that I think you're doing something really bad. So I have no problem with them asking the question. I do think it's funny that Bobby Stroop is taking that and using it as bulletin board material, though. Knight says there were back-to-back calls on Trey. I don't remember the one before that. I only remember Trey getting called on the screen, which everyone and their mom has said, every offensive lineman in the world has said, that's not a hold. And Jawan Taylor's false start or whatever it was.
He had a hold too, I thought.
But I'm just saying I don't remember a second Trey Smith one there. Right. It was just run out time, right? And I talked about that at the beginning. You can go back and watch because I kind of took a couple big shots to task on this, a couple very knowledgeable defensive guys who were trying to say that it was more Mike McDonald and the Ravens defense than it was the Chiefs offense and Andy just going conservative, which again is ridiculous. We scored in 3 of our first 5 drives, and we ended up having one whole quarter, 15 minutes more of possession than the Ravens at the end of this game. Our first 5 drives, one of them, Andy went for it on 4th down. We've already talked about that. That drive should have had points. If that drive has points, 4 out of our first 5 drives end in points. That's not a defense that's stopping an offense. Now I'm getting back into what I was saying at the very beginning here. But yeah, just run out time and don't risk turning the ball over. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not calling you guys liars. I don't remember the other one is all I'm saying. But yeah. That stole 7 off the board.
And then not going for it takes another 3 off. Not going for the field goal.
Spotting of that 4th down was spotty at best. Yeah, and again, it's crazy because that's the play that Jadeveon Clowney stuck out his leg to slow down Pacheco and then kicked him. And that's kind of insane to me, right? Because Jadeveon Clowney has probably had a season that is very close to what people thought he would have when he was drafted number 1 overall. Like, to me, this was a great season for him to I believe he's a free agent next year, right? I think it was only a 1-year deal. Clean up. But if I'm a team and I'm seeing a player do stuff like that, like, that kind of makes me want to shy away from him. I don't. I talked about this before you guys got on, but like, and listen, I'm going to say it because Brett Veach said it, and I think he's like 1,000% right in this. But someone had asked, and I know they asked Andy too, but someone asked Brett, like about the turning point in the season. And Brett had mentioned the Raiders game and had basically said something like, look, you can still win, right? And I think this is the heart of this show. And if Gooch was listening, or if he's listening, I know he would agree with this. This is why we are still critical, right? Because there's a chunk of the fan base is like, as long as we win, you can't say anything critical, because anything critical is negative.
And then we're spoiled.
But what Brett said is, kind of the heart of why we still do it. And I'm saying this to lead up to me criticizing Creed Humphrey. Brett said, basically we were winning up until that point, right? But we had issues. Brett said basically, sometimes when you have issues but you're still winning, it can be like deodorant. Which, takes me back, because I was a camp counselor for junior high boys one summer. Thankfully, only for a week, because we went to different camps. But those boys thought that in place of taking a shower, all they needed to do was spray themselves every day with Axe body spray. Right. I'm sure that that's still exactly what boys do today. But I'm with what Brett said there, because, it's like, you have to talk about the issues that are there. Just because you're winning, it can't be, it can't be deodorant. You got to talk about it, because it's going to become an issue. You can only spray Axe body spray on yourself so many days, right? You have to take a shower at some point. Like, you're going to get an infection or something, even if you don't stink. But Creed Humphrey snaps have been an issue seemingly all season. And in this game, it was huge. Every pass seemed to be affected by it. Slowed down, affected. It was drawing Pat's eyes down nearly to the ground every play, instead of being able to keep his eyes up to see the defense. Like, we got to talk about Creed snaps. Like, what the hell's going on with his snaps? I know I'm not the only one who's seen him snapping really, really low. He even had some skip on the ground.
Yeah, I didn't know what the deal was there either.
Well, hopefully they get it cleaned
questioning it during the game.
Hopefully they get it cleaned up. I don't know if there's an injury. Like, I don't know. Mechanically, his snaps are terrible. This game, they were terrible the whole game.
Speaking of showers, though, I do need to get in the shower and get ready for work. Any final questions for me? Nope. All right. Have a good one.
All right.
Good to
see you. Take it easy, Aaron. Have a good one.
You too. Good to see everybody.
Yeah, I don't know if Gooch is still with us or if he'll be with us or not. But if he can't join us here in the next few moments, we'll go ahead and wrap everything up. Let's see. Let me catch up here on comments. Yes, it's a 1-year deal. Interesting to hear him say that. You'll have to remind me what we're talking about. Veach saying the deodorant thing. Yeah, I mean, I think he was just being real. And Andy pointed to the Raiders game as well, right? Like, I think it was a great wake-up call, for them. Like, you can apply the same kind of lesson all throughout life, like, it's like if you stand on a scale every day, you see the effects of what you eat. If you never step on a scale, you're probably going to gain weight, and it doesn't take much. Like, if you overeat, if you overeat by the calories in a banana over every single day over the course of a year, just a banana. And the science is a bit more complicated than that. But if you overeat by the calories in a like regular sized banana every single day, you'll gain 10 pounds in a year. If you're stepping on the scale every day and you can see it, like, it's right there for you to see. And, you can realize, once you start gaining a couple pounds or two, you can start to see it right there and you can take your corrective action. A lot of us don't really realize it until our clothes start fitting tight. And that's kind of like deodorant, right? In what Veach was saying there. Until that loss to the Raiders, right? And it was a bad loss. But it gave them the wake-up call they needed, right? So, and listen, even in the things that we're critical about, it's all about the teachable moments. Like, I'm always going to look for, at least this was a teachable moment. And as long as it is, all of life is a teachable moment as long as we let it be. So, yeah.
That's a fact.
So, Gooch, you're back.
Oh, yeah.
Jason,
Got a couple fires I need to put out.
Just call him the fireman, ladies. Gooch's fireman calendar is coming out right in time for Valentine's Day.
I gotta lose a few more first, brother. I gotta lose a few more pounds first, brother.
Knight says the Pat system wasn't that far off from what Andy did in Philly, and now Kansas City win enough to hit the postseason, clean up the mistakes, and hit the playoffs running. Yeah, and we kind of talked about the idea that we thought at bye week, right, that Andy would clean things up, would kind of experiment until bye week, and then they would clean things up. But they really didn't. Like, they just kept on going. They were still winning, but they kept on going. But the interesting thing is like, we kind of found out the things that matter to fans don't necessarily matter to them. Like, fans, it was all, we got to keep the 1 seed, we got to keep the Arrowhead Invitational going. And, Andy was willing to wait long enough, to let us fall down to the 3 seed. So, we still won the division, but, So that was kind of an interesting part of it, right? Like the fact that he was willing to let it go that long before making those adjustments. But, maybe part of it was gamesmanship, right? Because there's way less tape on what we're doing. And you have people like Robbie out there asking, is the offense actually legit, or is it just a product of circumstances? Which is fine. I bet Steve Wilkes isn't asking that question. We'll get into the 49ers next week, but I bet he's not. I bet Mike McDonald wouldn't tell you that. Our offense, for all intents and purposes, dominated their defense no matter what people want to say. 15 extra minutes of time of possession. We weren't just physically bullying them on defense. We were doing it on offense too. How many times did you see Ravens defensive players walking off the field injured? Like Trey Smith was bullying Roquan, Patrick Queen, like whoever. Arthur Mollett, I think his name. Was it Roquan Gooch on that offsides that ended up being a personal foul?
Yeah, because what he was supposed to do was he was just supposed to reach over and tap the guy on the shoulder pads of the helmet, and he just burrowed through him for no reason. Like, you should have known the refs were going to call
which
that.
is smart strategy. That's what I've done in Madden for like 20 years now when you run out of timeouts and stuff. But yeah, well, the reason for that, Gooch, I don't know if you saw the clip, but the play before that, I believe it was the play before that, Trey was a pulling guard on a run play, and he went over and took out Roquan the play before and pissed him off. So like they were in the Ravens defensive players' heads. So
I'm bad. Had some issues.
You're good. But yeah, I was just saying they were in the Ravens defensive players' heads. I don't know if I can find that clip, but it was like the play before. Trey pull, I believe it was the play before. Trey pulls to the left and takes on Roquan, pisses off Roquan, and then you have that play. And Roquan just lost his cool. Not the first player on that team who lost their cool in this game. Some point you got to look at Mike McDonald and John Harbaugh.
And got to look at him now because now he's the new head coach of the Seattle Seahawks.
Hey, listen, I am all for any great coordinator or coach getting out of the AFC. No Vrabel, no Belichick, no Mike McDonald, just 3 less obstacles in the AFC way. I'm for it. Yeah, they had been the bullies. Yeah. And that was a great thing. That's part of the reason, once we were in the playoffs, that was part of the fun thing to see. It wasn't just the Ravens. We were doing the same thing against the Dolphins. It started with the Dolphins, right? It might have started in Germany against the Dolphins. But in the playoffs, it was the Dolphins, and it was against the Bills, and it was against the Ravens. All 3 teams, we came out. And I think that's something we learned from Super Bowl 55, don't you, Gooch? Like the way the Buccaneers played us so physically in that game. Like it was clear, with Tyreek and our offense, we had like finesse guys. I don't even think I don't think it's controversial to say that Travis was a little bit softer then too. Travis has toughened up, in my opinion. I think he was a little bit softer back then too. And so, yeah, I think it comes from that game, Super Bowl 55. Just like the ability that we've turned on, even on offense, to be bullies, to be physical. You know, you see it in that attitude in getting Trey Smith. When we had Orlando, you know, going after some of those physically dominating offensive linemen we've had, you know, ever since moving on from some guys. Knight says Zay also made a rookie mistake. It was a great play, but don't stand over the guy you just beat and push him back down. You're going to get flagged. Yeah, I mean, you do four things on that play, right? You're asking for a penalty. You push him down. Okay, maybe the refs let that go. Then you spin the ball at him. Maybe the refs let that go. Then you stand over him and you start, you know, talking your trash. Like, you're asking for a penalty at that point. Like, one of those things on its own, maybe you're fine. Maybe two of them. But you do the whole thing, you're asking for the penalty there.
Actually, Steve Smith, I follow him on YouTube, and he did something on the game. And some of the things he said was, one, you can't blame the refs because the refs let them play. He was like, cornerbacks were grabbing, receivers were separating, but putting his elbow out, like, you know, he was like, they called the game based on ball placement. He was like, all those people that wanted the flag on Shamari Connor for pass interference, he was like, Lamar threw throws into the stands. He was like, you're not going to get that. You shouldn't, like, I like this game because he's like, you're not getting rewarded for crap balls. You know what I'm saying? A ball that you were never going to catch. And so also he said, and I brought that up to say this, he said he spoke to the ref that threw the flag. The ref said, I was okay with him pushing him back down because Snead was holding on to him, acting like he wasn't going to let him up. He was like, I was okay with that. He was like, I was even okay with the ball spin. He had just made a big play. He was like, but then you stand over him. He was like, so now you want me to throw the flag. He's like, I was going to let it go. He's like, if you stood over him and didn't drop the ball and spin it at him, I probably would have let it go. But by the letter of the law, I could have called it on, you know, the push down, but I didn't.
Right.
And then he was like, and finally he threw the flag, was go back to the huddle. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't think that you're going to be able to do all that in a guy's face. You know what I'm saying? That's why they wouldn't let you spike the ball in front of opponents anymore. Like,
right.
And you're playing with refs that were letting a lot of stuff go on both sides. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and I hadn't heard that, but yeah, you know, like, that was just my perspective. Like, you might get away with one or two of those things happening, right? But you do all of that and you're basically guaranteeing it, right? It's like, it goes back to the Justin Tucker thing, you know, like, you might get around joking for a second there, but when you get up like a jackass when you're asked and you move your stuff over a literal foot, and then go back over and you look at the guys and you wink at them, you know, it's like you're asking for it at some point. Yeah. Yeah, Knight, it was absolute poetry. If I believed in karma, it would be because of that play. You stand over them, you do all that, and then the very next play. And, you know, was it Tom Brady that was talking about that? No, not Tom Brady. I forget who. Somebody was talking about it. Who was it? Maybe it was Tom Brady. I think it was Tom Brady was talking like, we talked about it all the time. You do not extend at the goal line. He's like, it got talked about every day, basically. Do not extend at the goal line. Don't do it. Don't do it. Every day, repeat it. Don't do it. Zay Flowers probably won't ever do it again. It sucks that for him that he had such a strong teachable moment, but this is a great teachable moment for him. Like, hopefully he takes advantage of it and he becomes a hell of a player. Like those two things. He learns from those two things. And if that's who Veach was wanting to get, he can become that kind of player. Hopefully not against us, but well, I got to get going here, Gooch, but I'm losing my voice anyway from all the screaming I was doing. But it was fun. Guys, if you don't have anything more for us here really quick, I'm going to let Gooch go ahead and pay the bills and keep putting out fires. Remember, he'll have that fireman calendar out in time for Valentine's Day. All right. Well, Gooch, if you're able to pay the bills, pay the bills. If you're not, then I'll write out an IOU and I'll do it. All right. We want to thank everyone who watches this show, whether religiously or in passing. I don't remember what else Gooch said, but yeah, tell someone you love them because you never know when you'll get a chance. The electric fireman. Again, we want to thank you guys. But yeah, and if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you subscribe. Please like this and share it with someone else because we know they'll like it as well, especially if they're Chiefs fans. Gooch, anything you want to add? You want to finish paying those bills properly?
I got your problem, man. Appreciate y'all for checking us out, whether religiously or in passing. The electric fireman here. I've been kind of in and out, putting out the stuff. Mike, good to see you. Make sure you tell somebody you love them. Try to become a 3 a.m. friend. Go Chiefs. Super Bowl in 10 days, baby. I'm super excited. Let's get it.
All right. We'll be back.
You got your team, and we got a kingdom. Ready for war, we score at will. We're the Super Bowl champs, the king of the hill.